What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So we have a ton of stuff that took place yesterday. In fact, I had to cover some of it in a separate video with Google doing all kinds of stuff leading up to the GDC event. So make sure you check that out. It's in the card above. And we also had a ton of things, including third-party games getting announced for the Switch, some remasters showing up, new VR games, one of my favorite indie games from last generation seemingly getting teased, Epic Game Store getting in a bit of hot water, and then Xbox Live going to even more systems in other places. It's an interesting time yesterday. As always, guys, enjoy these videos. Do hit the like button. It does help out. Make sure to subscribe. We do this every weekday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Today, we're going to start with Windjammers 2 because they showed it off. I was very excited because, of course, I'm a fan of the first one. So here comes Windjammers 2, and now we actually got to see some gameplay in a trailer, and the visuals and the art style I actually really like. It looks very smooth, has this really cool kind of cartoony style look, but it seems to flow very, very well. In the trailer they showed, it seemed like it was moving faster than the Windjammers that I had played with the first one, which of course is on the Switch now. You can check all of that out, and it's also on the PS4 and the Vita, actually. But I actually played that one a lot, and I'm looking at this one, and I'm like, man, this one looks a little bit faster, so I'm excited. It's supposed to be coming out sometime this year. It's going to the PC, and it's going to the Switch, so I'm looking forward to it. Be checking it out when it gets out. Hopefully before the holidays, because there's a lot of stuff showing up in that August to December time, and I'd like this game to stand out even a little bit if it could. We also now have an idea as to how large Sakura Shadows Die Twice is, and I wasn't sure how big it would be, but it looks like it's actually going to be quite a bit smaller than we're at least used to nowadays. I mean, we just talked about the Division 2 having, what, like a 90 gigabyte patch? It seemed to be more like 50, but the PlayStation needs more space to unpack it. No, Sakura appears to be 12.58 gigabytes. It's actually up for preload, and people managed to get a look at the file size, and this is great. I like when these games tend to be smaller. This is actually on the average to smaller size for the Souls games, so it makes sense because, of course, From Software is making it, that it wouldn't be this massive 50 gigabyte game, but having something that manageable where it's not going to take hours to download it and then install it, I am really happy to see that. I'm going to be picking it up, I guess, on the Xbox One X is where I'll be picking it up, although it seems like the PC version might be the best way to go because it'll probably have, an unlocked frame rate and resolution and everything. So we'll see, but I might just pick it up on the Xbox, make it easier to record, and if I don't think it's that great, maybe I will end up getting it on the PC down the line. We also got another Xbox 360 game going backwards compatible for the Xbox One. Larry Herb actually put out a tweet, as you're seeing here, for Castlevania Harmony of Despair. Now, if you did not play this one during the 360 PS3 days, this was actually a pretty cool multiplayer style Castlevania. I remember actually trying this out on the 360, and you would actually play online with other people, and it was like 2D style Castlevania. You pick up items and everything as you're running around, and it was a pretty cool co-op experience. It's now backwards compatible right now on the Xbox One. You can go pick it up. It's also in their shop and everything. You can grab it there, and this is a good one if you're just looking for some Castlevania to play. I think it's been left back in that generation on the PS3 and the 360, so I guess this would be like the best way to play it at this time, at least for now, until we see it maybe show up in, like, I don't know, PlayStation Now, or if it is fully backwards compatible when the next PlayStation comes out, maybe there. Either way, though, cool to see this one backwards compatible. We did just talk about, of course, some Castlevania games, or at least an anniversary collection that we saw rated, so you'll hear more and more about Castlevania, and it's good to see. And as a quick update to that Sony Take-Two story, we actually had someone who's a bit more knowledgeable and close to these kind of sources, as you're seeing here. This is on Twitter. Yuji Nakamura actually put out a tweet saying, everyone, including Wedbush, already knew this, but here you go for the record. Sony confirmed to me there's no truth to reports that it will acquire Take-Two, and I think, again, as we talked about it more, we even talked about it in the video the other day, that it seemed like it wasn't correct. It seemed like the information was really running rampant, and like the rumor mill and everything got kind of mixed up with an analyst's predictions and just trying to make sense of the market. And they decided to put out there that they thought that Sony was in talks to buy Take-Two, when if you really think about it, the more and more we look at it anyway, it seems like it'd be very difficult for Sony to even do that with the money that they actually have available. So there you go. It doesn't look like that Sony is going to buy Take-Two and make things like Grand Theft Auto completely exclusive to them. Then guys, some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're going to start with one of my favorite games from last generation. It wasn't like this big, massive AAA game or anything. It was Castle Crashers. I liked Castle Crashers a lot. I played it on the 360, probably way more hours than I ever should have in any one game, but it was an awesome co-op beat-em-up style game, and it was really, really fun. You take control of any of these different adventures, they'd be different colors and stuff, have different abilities, and you would level up and stuff. It was a really fun game to play locally with friends, and you know what? I have seen people talk about this and say, hey, that'd be really cool if it was on something like the Switch, which at this point is like the co-op system now. That's kind of been left around, as the other systems generally need multiple systems, and then you also need to have multiple copies of the game and everything. Local same-screen co-op is kind of going away, so to hear about the idea of Castle Crashers maybe getting a bit of a resurgence on a system like the Switch, which is like the system that all these indie games are going to, it makes a ton of sense. So when they actually put out on Twitter a bit of a tease, as you're seeing here, from the Behemoth, who is actually the creators of Castle Crashers, and you can see right there the trademark colors of the Castle Crash series with, oh wait, those are Joy-Con controllers, that's right. They seem to be teasing some sort of Castle Crashers release for the Switch, and this would be outstanding. I would love this because, one, the single Joy-Con controls would work fine, seemingly. I'm sure they'll get those to work no problem. And then you would have online multiplayer, you'd have 4-player, same screen, I assume, and it would make a ton of sense. Visually, it was fine on the 360, and I think they could probably just port it over and it'd be fine. I'd be curious if they add any extra content or anything to it, or just pretty much bundle everything together and throw it on the Switch in one collection as like a $15 to $20 download, but it would sell tremendously well, and I would like to see it get a bit of a resurgence there. It is on the Xbox One. I've played it there recently. I'm even showing you guys some footage here of me playing it, and I really liked it there. I think it's, I don't think it's in Game Pass. I think you can buy it and play it there, but either way, I'm really excited to see if this actually happens soon. It seems like something they're just kind of teasing, and maybe that means next week they'll say, oh yeah, Castle Crashers coming to the Switch in like a few weeks or something. Exciting stuff. If you've never heard of Castle Crashers, look it up, and if it shows up on the Switch, I recommend picking it up. There's a lot of content there, and it's a ton of fun for what'll probably be a $15 to $20 price tag. Next up, let's talk about some third-party support coming to the Switch, and then a remaster of an older game that some of you guys might like, and then a VR game, and then a sequel to it. Rebellion pretty much went all out yesterday, sending out a massive press release that I received, and I looked at it and I said, wow, there's a lot of Sniper Elite stuff going on. And yeah, it looks like they're going to be doing a lot when it comes to the Switch with some Sniper Elite support, VR, and then a brand new one. So here we go. Let's start from the top. Sniper Elite V2 appears to be getting a remaster, and it's going to be, I guess, going to current platforms, so we'd expect that on pretty much everything, PS4, Xbox One, I guess PC and Switch and everything. So if you're a fan of Sniper Elite V2, look forward to that. Then Sniper Elite 3 Ultimate Edition is coming to the Switch. That introduces Carl's breathtaking North African adventure to a Nintendo platform for the first time ever, as read in their press release. So exciting stuff there if you are a Sniper Elite fan, or if you're someone who's kind of looked into them but you have access mostly to the Switch. You should be having a couple just kind of show up. Still looking for any kind of release dates. We just know that they're showing up sometime in 2019, specifically Sniper Elite 3 Ultimate Edition in 2019. Pretty cool to see there. They're going to have a standalone Sniper Elite game for VR devices, which I assume means it'll probably be the PlayStation VR, Oculus, Vive, for example. PlayStation VR is most likely what they're targeting there. That's being developed in partnership with independent British studio Just Add Water, which is pretty cool because they actually worked on Oddworld and the Gravity Crash series. And then they did say that there is a new major title in the Sniper Elite series that's going to follow in the footsteps of the widely acclaimed Sniper Elite 4. It's being worked on now. No word on the title, the release date, systems, nothing there. But it seems like if they're doing something like Sniper Elite 3 Ultimate Edition on the Switch and all platforms with Sniper Elite V2 Remastered, I wouldn't be surprised if what I assume is going to be Sniper Elite 5 is just on everything. It seems like Rebellion is interested in the Switch, as we see here, and if you haven't never played the Sniper Elite series, it's a pretty interesting series that dates back to what I remember playing was on the original Xbox and the PC with the first one, and it was pretty cool because you would basically be a sniper who would do things like shoot gas tanks in trucks that are super far away, or you would try to time your sniper shots with cannon fire in the background. It's a pretty fun series, and it's worth looking into if you've been kind of curious about it and you've never really played them. They're pretty fun. V2 getting a remaster is interesting to see, and then of course 3 being the Ultimate Edition showing up on the Switch. Good to see for Rebellion, that kind of sport going to the Switch and then having the remaster, and we'll see, I guess maybe at E3, Sniper Elite 5 show up, but that could be a project, because the way they kind of talked about it was, yeah, we're working on it, you know, you'll see it eventually. The fact they didn't even have like a title, not even like a working title or anything, yeah, maybe it's the next E3. Maybe it's not even this E3, it's the next one. But hey, you never know. We'll see. At least more than likely they'll have some kind of Sniper Elite stuff at E3 with V2 remastered if it's not already out, and then the Sniper Elite 3 Ultimate on the Switch. Next up, let's talk about Xbox Live, but not how you really know it now. See, we think of Xbox Live and we think of, okay, the Xbox One, maybe the Windows Store, but what about on your mobile phones like Android or iOS? Well, it looks like Microsoft is actually putting out an SDK that's going to allow developers to leverage Xbox Live on your mobile devices. So if you're on iOS or Android and there's a game that I guess would be cross-platform, or they develop a game for that system, that phone, but they want you to be able to use your gamer tag to get achievements, for example, or send friend requests or look at your friends list, all of that is going to be available to them. Microsoft is making a massive push with Xbox Live, as we're seeing. You could sign into Xbox Live on your Switch at this point with Minecraft, right? So we've already seen that. It's on Windows, of course, and now we're seeing it on cell phones. This is a pretty interesting push. A big deal, obviously, to do that, but I do have questions for Microsoft when it comes to this, because as it stands now, the only audience that has to pay for Xbox Live is Microsoft's Xbox users. The people who actually bought their system are the ones that pay for Xbox Live. On your phone, you're not going to be paying for it, it seems. On the Switch, you don't really pay for it. On computers, you don't pay for it. It is interesting to see it go everywhere, but should they make it free for everyone then? Because they have to pay for it. Or at least take the online multiplayer and move it away from the walled garden and maybe just leave the games with gold stuff in there. Or maybe integrate Game Pass into Xbox Live, and that's like its own thing, although they get $10 a month for Game Pass. It's a weird situation, because the more I see them move Xbox Live to all these different devices, the more I wonder about that core audience that's kind of got them there to this point, right? Brought up Xbox Live with $60 a year since, the 360, because before it was like $50 a year with the original Xbox. So at least it's neat to see them put it everywhere, and it's going to be going to Android and iOS. I'll be curious what, I guess, services use it outside of something like a Minecraft, for example, but still, I mean, what's next? Where do they put Xbox Live next? It's hard to say, but it's almost everywhere now. I guess, is PlayStation the last place they would try to put it? Word is they've done these talks with them before, and Sony's rejected them, so I don't know if they'll ever show up there, but at this point, smart TVs? Like, what's left for them? And our last bit of news, let's talk about the Epic Games Store, because the Epic Games Store has been kind of under fire at times, right? When they're doing exclusivity deals at the last minute with something like Metro, although Metro seemed to get the brunt of that force, I would say, but still, people see the Epic Games Store and they don't really want to have to download it because it's just another client for them. I think most people want everything on Steam, and that's it. It's not really the way it's working right now, is there are launchers for like everyone now, right? You got Uplay, you got GOG, you got Origin, Epic Games Store. But it looks like the Epic Games Store may have got caught a bit here, as it seems like the Epic Games Store is spying on Steam. Not like the new Steam spy at this point, but what is going on here? Well, this is actually an interesting post that took place. It popped up on Reddit, kind of went away, came back, and then someone actually at Reset Era decided to take it and try to, I guess, put the theory to the test, see what they could find out, and they found out a whole bunch of stuff to the point where Epic actually responded and kind of confirmed these claims and tried to mostly explain why they're doing it. So let's go through this from the top. Again, this is on Reset Era from Mad Jokey. And they talk a bit about how they decided to snoop around the Epic Games Store and see what it's recording, because at this point it seems like the Epic Games Store is recording a bit more than you would think from Steam. So when you go on Epic Games Store, you can tell it, yes, I would like you to pull my friends list and everything, that's fine. But it seems that they actually do a bit more than that. In fact, what they'll end up doing after just pulling your friends, they'll start pulling your play history, different games you've downloaded, I guess the time that you've spent in each game, and kind of write it to a local file that seems to be called local history. And from there, it seems like it has a lot of your information from Steam. And that's kind of what you see in spyware and kind of keyloggers, kind of not, but it is kind of bordering less on the side of storefront and more on the side of spyware, kind of. It's very interesting to see all of this happen, and it seems like they're collecting a lot of information from Steam, and I had a thought that maybe they're doing that kind of in the background after getting your permission to look at your friends as a way to do some research based on what people are enjoying on Steam, and maybe they can figure out what to buy at that point for exclusivity. But then Epic Games did respond. This is from Daniel Vogel, who actually responded, and this was actually the full response that you're seeing here. And it does kind of say that they are using a tracking pixel for support a creator program so they can pay their creators, so they track page statistics. I mean, that makes sense. If you're on the Epic Games Store, they want to see where you're buying from and everything. I get that. And they also talk about the launcher sends a hardware survey, CPU, GPU, and the like, at a regular interval as outlined in their privacy policy. And then they go on to talk a bit about how, as you can see here, the majority of the launcher UI is implemented using web technology, is being rendered by Chromium, which is open source. The root certificate and cookie access mentioned above is a result of normal web browser startup. After that, they go on to say, we only import your Steam friends with your explicit permission. The launcher makes an encrypted local copy of your local config Steam file. However, information from this file is only sent to Epic if you choose to import your Steam friends, and then only hashed IDs of your friends are sent and no other information from the file. So here's the thing. They're admitting that they're collecting information, but they're not sending it to Epic yet. It stays on your computer. But why would they do that? Maybe they might need it later. It's hard to say, but then you start getting things like Tencent, who's like their parent company, wrapped up in this, and there is some concern. You should definitely know about this, that this is happening, because that's why it's out there right now, but tread lightly with Epic Games Store when it comes to this stuff. We don't definitively know if they are keeping your information and selling it or using it for purposes outside of this, because they're saying it stays on your computer, but there is a possibility that their terms of service changes and you just say, oh yeah, accept, that's fine. And then all of a sudden that information is being sent to them. So keep that in mind. They're doing a lot of snooping around your Steam files and apparently your computer, so be careful with all of that. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike, leave comments down below about everything we talked about, whether it's the Epic Games Store pulling information from Steam and then your CPU, GPU, all this other information. Are you comfortable with that? Did you know you were signing up for that? Let me know what you think about that whole thing down below. What about Sniper Elite getting a new game, it seems, in development? Also, some going to the Switch, a VR game. And what about Castle Crashers? Do you need Castle Crashers on the Switch? Because I definitely do. Thanks, guys, for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you guys back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time.